I'm falling out of place now. I can feel the touch from another world.
This is my 2019 Subaru Wrx Sti. No, my name is not Doug DeMuro, but we are here to talk about my STI ownership experience over the past year.
I'm insane.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me in this video. And as you guys are watching this video, I have owned this car for officially 1 year. And as soon as I drove this car off the lot, I took it home and immediately started filming. Let me just tell you right off the bat, I absolutely love this car, but there's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm about to tell you that in just a minute. You see, owning an STI is like dating the crazy, mediocre looking chick in high school. Everyone secretly wants it, but if you don't maintain it and give it a lot of attention, it may break down on you or blow up on you in public when you least expect it.
Shit just got real.
Now let's be honest here, when you compare the STI to the modern day Yank tank, it's absolutely laughable that Uncle Joe's 700 horsepower Hell Kitty gets the same gas mileage as my 300 horsepower 4-popper. Also, as I sit here with my vape, beanie, and flannel, you also have the traditional Subaru stereotypes, but let's not go there. So I'm not going to go over all the tech specs. This car has been out for a very long time now, but I am going to tell you exactly why I think this is probably arguably one of the best cars that you can own for its price range in this class. You see, driving an STI and owning an STI is two totally different things. Now, I've driven an STI pretty much every single year since the first STI came out in the US in 2004. Now, I've always wanted one, but there were always things that steered me away from owning a Subaru, and that was the reliability aspects of a Subaru. Now, I've known people who have had stock cars, had their engines blow up, and their warranties denied by Subaru, even though their cars were in stock form. And that's what steered me away from owning a Subaru until 2015. Now, when I say I'm glad that they didn't change the engine since 2004, all the upgrades could have been made as far as the horsepower aspects and the gas mileage, because let's be honest with you, the STI gets crappy mileage for a 2019. But one of the biggest selling points for the STI is the overall raw mechanical driving experience, something that you just can't get with other cars out there. Now, I have driven the Type R, I have driven the Golf R, and I have driven the Focus RS, and by far this has the most mechanical driving experience that you can get in a car in its class. Now, one car I did test drive with a much more raw driving experience is the GT350, but that's a whole different class, a whole different type of car. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the interior. Not much has changed since 2015. Since 2018, Subaru has added an option for rebadged OEM seats with 2% more side bolstering for $2,000, but you do get a Recaro badge. Not the ones that came in the JDM models, but the fat American versions that I currently did not purchase. I didn't bother with that. A Nissan Juke has real Recaros. A Nissan Juke, yes. Let that sink in. Although the seat foam material has the same consistency as a Nerf football, I've never had any issues with the seats other than the lack of lateral support under hard cornering. Also, they made slight adjustments to the gauges to make it look like technology from the Motorola Razr, and some trim updates, but really that's about it. Not many changes at all. But the biggest interior selling point for me when I was shopping for this car and looking at this at the dealership was the addition of Apple CarPlay. It works flawless and I've never had any issues with it whatsoever. You see, the interior over the past year has held up very well. I don't have many interior modifications, but I have added all-weather floor mats and an Alcantara steering wheel. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I was hesitant on Alcantara, but I'm not eating cheeseburgers in the car, and the seats still look fairly new, other than a little wear on the side bolster pleather. So let's be honest, the interior is as basic as they come on a current Subaru model. The interior is in desperate need of a styling upgrade, especially when you compare it to an $18,000 base model Impreza that they use for loaner vehicles. But the Golf R currently puts this STI interior to shame. Oh, also one more thing I forgot to mention is the bass sound system. It's nothing to write home about at all. Currently, you can walk into Best Buy and there are Bluetooth speakers that would rival it in sound quality. And one more thing I absolutely love about the interior is the overall visibility. You can see all around you, minimal blind spots, which will also help you nail those apexes and prevent you from eating those cones if that's your thing. One thing that Subaru did with the 2018 Up model was change the OEM wheel size from 18s to 19s. Now, although I'm not a fan of 19-inch wheels on this car, I will say it does fit the body style very well, and it did grow on me after a while. Now, the difference between these wheels and the OEM wheels were almost 10 pounds a piece. When you're talking about rotating mass and all that science mumbo jumbo, it does make a big difference. Another thing that Subaru did for the 2018 Up model was change out from the old 4-pot Brembos to the 6-pot Brembos. I will say that the 18 and 19 Up 6-pot Brembos, the stock pads that come in these from the factory do produce a whole lot of brake dust. If you're looking for less brake dust, it's a simple brake pad change. One pad I suggest if you own a 2018 Up and you want less brake dust without sacrificing any of the braking performance, is some G-Lock GS1 pads. So from the factory, the 19-inch boat anchors weigh about 55 pounds a piece roughly, with the mediocre Yokohama V105 summer tires. Now, truth be told, a simple tire upgrade, more negative camber up front, and a rear sway bar can go a long way. Now, let's say you're looking into buying and modding an STI. Let's be real here. Most who buy an STI are going to mod it in some way. Unlike its direct injection competitors, which can make over 300 horsepower with just a tune, to make that kind of power on an STI will require carb axle support, a downpipe, fuel injectors, and a tune, obviously. There goes your stimulus check and then some. The STI engine, I'll admit, is rather dated. The last time this was considered modern technology, boy bands were still a thing. It's like riding an old wooden roller coaster that may break down at a moment's notice compared to its steel counterparts. It may not go as fast or as high, but the sound and overall experience make it worth the ride. If it were my way, I would take a note from Toyota's playbook and partner with the European counterpart that also manufactures flat engines with driver-focused engineering. In fact, they have SUVs and cute utes that would run circles around this STI. So some have mentioned, hey, your car is just a garage queen. Well, let me just take you to the car and show you exactly how many miles I've put on the car in just 1 year. Just turn on the car here. And in just 1 year, I put on 16,500 miles. So this car is no garage queen whatsoever. All right, so going back on the interior, I will admit I was a little harsh on it. This is a no frills, what you see, what you get type of interior. And that's kind of how I like it. All right, let's get the hell out of here. It's starting to rain. So when it comes to handling, I've always felt that the STI is a great handling car straight off of the showroom floor and really doesn't need much. Now, I know it has a tendency to understeer, but that's easily correctable with an alignment and just better tires overall, because I'm not a fan of the to that level, but you can take this car out to the track and have an absolute blast. So what makes the STI an STI is its drivetrain. Now what you see here is the driver center control differentials, and you have the SI drive up top. Now what this does is changes the threshold at which the center differential reacts to inputs. We'll do a whole nother video on how this actually works. There's a whole bunch of misinformation out there on how the driver center control differential works. So for me in everyday driving, I keep it in auto, but if I'm going to go around and rip some corners, I will put it in auto minus. Now you also have the ability to manually configure your center differential, but like I said, totally different video. We'll go over everything as far as the center control differential and how to use it in a separate video. All right, so what you have here is the SI drive. I'm not going to go too much into it. You guys already know this, but in short, all this really is a throttle sensitivity input changer. So the way my car is set up, I have different boost levels set for each drive mode. So intelligent mode is about 9 PSI, sport is about 14 PSI, and sport sharp is full boost at 20 something PSI. So but as far as when it comes to throttle input, I like to drive in sport the most. That just feels more natural. Intelligent mode just feels a little bit too dead, and sport sharp just feels very touchy. So yes, my STI right here comes with a bunch of Boy Racer lick and stick parts, but to be honest with you, I love the way it looks. But if you want to be more inconspicuous and blend in with the rest of the 9-to-5 traffic in the Starbucks line, you can option the STI from the factory with the spoiler delete. Okay, so my 1 year ownership of the STI, my honest review. I just want to be 100% transparent with you guys. Your ownership experience may be different than mine, but who knows? But to be honest with you, this is not the best driving car that you can buy if you are just putting this car around to work and back. But if you were to have this car at a racetrack with next to the Type R, the Focus RS, or the Golf R, I would probably pick this one every time. I may not run the fastest lap times, but I guarantee you I'll probably have the most fun in this. So that is if it can manage its own oil, because this car is known to run hot from the factory and spin bearings and lift heads and whatnot. But in closing, like I said, one of the better vehicles I have honed. The driving experience, the community, and the all-weather capabilities, which I didn't touch much on, but you guys all know the Subaru all-wheel drive system coupled with snow tires. This is an absolute monster in the snow. But with that said, I wouldn't mind if this engine stuck around for another year, but I would greatly welcome a new engine with more modern technology that makes power a lot easier, because the enthusiast platform needs it to keep up with the competition. And speaking of that competition, the competition has spoken.
Bitch, I wanna party like Frisco.